This weekend we've got a boxing fight and we've got a UFC card. You know, boxing, for the last couple of weeks has sort of been dominating MMA, in my opinion. You had the Tyson Jones card, you had the Spence and Garcia card. I think last weekend, I think more people with the 256 pay-per-view, which actually ended up being pretty good. I think that sort of eclipsed the Joshua fight, and also the timing worked out too because Joshua was on earlier in the day, so it didn't really impact anything. But this weekend, what do you think is a bigger deal? Because Canelo's fighting. It's Canelo, right? I mean, this is one of the biggest stars in boxing right now. And we've got this UFC card, which I think if it was Chimaev fighting this weekend like it was supposed to be, I think this would be a bigger deal. Unfortunately, Wonderboy Thompson and Jeff Neal love both those fighters, but I don't think they hold as much. I still think boxing's taken this weekend. What do you think?
1,000,000,000% it is. Canelo is the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. And also, I don't know if you saw this yet, but there's a picture that went out with the size difference between Canelo and
Callum Smith,
and Callum Smith. I mean, the size difference is just enough of an intrigue for people to tune in to see. Again, this is this whole size thing. Somehow, some way, people that think that if you're bigger, you're supposed to win a fight. But that's not necessarily the case, man. Sometimes those are liabilities, and you'll see why when a guy as skilled as Canelo goes in there and takes apart another bigger guy. Remember, Canelo already fought his brother. So now, granted, his brother Liam is not as good as Callum is, but they're schooled in the same school, of fighting. They're taught by the same person, and they were raised by the same people, and they did this thing together. So they're a fighting family. There's another brother that fights too. I can't remember his name, but again, you'll see, there's nothing Canelo enjoys more than a big guy that he could go to the body with. And you're about to see a guy get broken down to the body. You're about to watch a class on how to break a big guy down to the body. That is just my opinion. We'll see how this thing plays out, right? But this is just my assessment of how it will go down. But granted, Callum's a really good boxer. I don't want to take nothing away from Callum, but there's levels. There's levels, man, and this Canelo guy is on a whole different level, man.
He certainly is. Where would you sort of rank Smith in terms of Canelo's past opponents? I mean, this is a guy that's been in there with the best. Do you rank him as one of the more? I think with the size, it does add a little bit more. But you're right. Like there are levels. He's not on the level of a Canelo.
Well, I think that he's a really, really good boxer. He does everything well. He doesn't there's not really a hole in his game per se. He does everything well. He has a good jab. He has good range. He sometimes digs to the body well. He's good. He's good all around. And also he's in his prime. That's another very important thing that we gotta when we come to compare these guys. Now, Canelo has fought a list of who's and also guys of who are in their prime. I would, off the top of my head, I would put him. I say Floyd is the best guy that Canelo's fought. Then I would say Triple G gave him. I think he lost one to Triple G. That was a draw. That I think he lost that. That was the best Triple G that he could have got. I think that I would throw probably Jacobs in there. That was a good fight. That was a good, intense fight for him. Miguel Cotto was a good one. And I think Callum, Sergio Kovalev was a little bit past this, like maybe just a year or two too late for Canelo. Maybe if he was 2-3 years before that, I think he could have got a better chance. And Mosley was over the hill. So I think that Smith, as far as credibility goes, as far as size, age, also the belts that he has, you got to understand he's a unified champion at his weight. He won that Super Series. He has all of those 3 belts, 4 belts, or whatever, how many belts he got over there. So he's beat the, kind of who's in his weight. So I think as far as just name goes and as far as status goes and as far as prime-wise goes, I think he's in there. Now, it comes down to what guy shows up on Saturday. If he puts up a great thing, then he'll be in his top 5 guys that he's fought. If he doesn't put up a good performance, then I don't know, man.
And I'm looking at the odds here. Right now you can get Canelo Alvarez with -670, Callum Smith +400. I mean, that's not too wide. Usually you get into like the thousands when you get most boxing matches for the most part, unless it's like a really close fight, like a Canelo Alvarez and Triple G type fight. But it is interesting here that, Alvarez, it just kind of like, that's why I asked you the question about level of opponent, because it's not like, at least in MMA, this would be a big deal. But in boxing, I mean, this is actually a fairly closer line than what you're used to, right?
Yeah, I mean it's the pedigree of Callum, and it's also the pedigree of Callum, and also Callum is a unified champion. So he's not just a slouch walking in. Also, the size difference makes everybody be like, "Whoa!" Like I'm sure the odds changed after the picture went out yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't think the odds were the same this whole time. I think it might have drastically changed it a bit and made it a little closer because people are looking at him like, "There's no way he's gonna beat this guy that's 6'3". He looks like he's almost 200 pounds to me from what I saw in that picture. But we'll see, man.
And then where does a win for Alvarez, Canelo Alvarez, you feel like what sort of sets up next? What are you hearing in terms of potential matchup for Canelo? Not looking past Saturday, but we have to, right?
Okay, so here's my opinion on what I think. So you got a bunch of young, in their prime guys that are world champions between 60, 68, and 75. I mean, the pool is full of these monsters. Even if you want to go down to 54, I don't think Canelo will ever go back down to 54 ever again. I think those days are gone. I think 60 and 68 he likes. I think he'll bounce back and forth between those two. This fight is at 68. So a lot of dogs over there. Now, where does he go from here? It's tough to say because he beats this guy 68 and he takes his belts. Then that leaves, David Benavidez. That leaves Caleb Plant, who was almost supposed to get that fight. You still have our friend out there in Europe from England, Billy Joe Saunders. So you still got names that are in their prime that he could fight. The Charlos. I mean, shoot, the Charlo brothers. I mean, those guys are still sitting there. They've been trying to get a fight with this guy for a while. So there's the opponents doesn't end, for a guy like him. But if he's smart, or if he wants to propel himself again to another level, I think that he goes back down to 160 and takes on either Billy Joe Saunders, or he takes on Charlo, in my opinion, because those guys have been have been around a little bit more longer than David Benavidez, and but David's only 23, 24 years old. Caleb Plant's only 24, 23, and then we have Spence.